This is still a Honda CR-V. I'm filling up at Costco today, not sponsored, because the show's budget is virtually non-existent. But luckily for us, the Honda CR-V has great gas mileage, much like my guest today, Mclean Krieger, who is known for creating Hollywood-level Spider-Man costumes on a real Peter Parker budget. This is Geeks in Cars grabbing lunch.
I was worried I had the wrong address for a second.
No, you got it. What's up, man?
How's it going, man?
Good to see you.
Good to see you, dude. How's your day going?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm fighting flies in my house. I don't know why, but I have like dozens of flies in my house.
Flies?
Yeah, so I thought they were coming from like a dumpster outside. Now I'm thinking I closed everything off. I'm thinking they're actually coming from inside my house. So I don't. Fun morning.
That? Like, you know, sometimes when you get fruit,
yeah,
those little fruit flies start coming up out of nowhere.
Yeah, so I was thinking like a piece of food might have like rolled under my refrigerator or something, and like a fly got to it, because it's seriously, there's like dozens in my house right now. I got rid of most of them. But.
Well, you know, like back in the day, I remember this from like school, that they used to think that flies would just appear, like it was like a spontaneous
a spirit.
Yeah, that it was like, yeah, because the experiment was they would put a piece of like meat or something in a jar and close it, and all of a sudden there would be like flies inside this jar, because they didn't understand the larva was like in the meat.
Yeah.
So I remember that. That's crazy. Speaking of larva, let's go get some like raw fish.
Yeah.
I'm trying to cough my mouth open. Oh yeah, no, if you have stuff in your teeth and stuff, I'll remove it in post. I'm just kidding, I don't know how to do that. And this is not a $1 million setup right here. Yeah. I hope you guys can hear us. We're actually inside the restaurant. This place does not have an outside area, so there's other people in here, and they're gonna. Yeah, I already noticed that they're like looking over. So we'll try to be like as loud as we can without disturbing people. So we got a dragon roll, we got a spicy scallop, and we got a California, correct?
Yeah.
And some edamame. So thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan.
This will be a feast.
So,
he always tunes into your live streams. I noticed that. Like, he's always very engaging on your live streams.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about those live streams. It's just fun. All these people that I only ever see through comments and things like that. It's kind of artificial. Live streams, you're actually talking to people and answering questions, and so. And usually, I asked a few live streams ago. Everybody was between, I think, like 13 and 24.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So
you asked them?
Yeah, so it was,
cool.
Most of them were like between 14 and 18, which is about the age I was in when I started doing Spider-Man costume stuff, because that's when you're kind of like, I am Peter Parker, you know, I'm that age.
That's so depressing to me, by the way, right now. I want to be Spider-Man, but couldn't they make the game, one of the DLCs or something, 40-year-old Spider-Man, dude? Because like, goddamn.
Spider-Verse, where he's like a cop or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that in the Sony animated one with Miles Morales, they have that guy from New Girl voicing Spider-Man. So he has a raspy voice. He's an older dude. He's like,
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah,
man,
it looks so good.
That looks like a character that you don't see from like a comic, you know, superhero movie. I'm really excited just for that movie.
But I'll probably personally be more identifying with that Spider-Man at this age than the
totally broke.
Yeah, man. I've met you 2012, right? It was 2012. It was before The Amazing Spider-Man came out. The first one, the first reboot. Mcclain was coming up with some really cool experiments with puff paint on paper. It was basically just a printout at that point, right?
Yeah.
So you were doing all the honeycomb textures, and you guys from the RPF might remember this, on paper, and it was just a test, and at the same time you were also kind of doing like a mask, right?
Yeah,
like
well, that
pattern.
Actually, to go back a little bit further, to go back to the start of that, that's where you probably saw.
Yeah, that's where I met you. Yeah,
I started because the pictures of that one were released like about a year before.
Yes.
So I was working on an Iron Man suit, and I lived in Dallas. That was before I moved out here to Los Angeles.
Okay.
So I was working on an Iron Man suit, and that was about when Thor came out too. So there was like this one night where I was just experimenting with puff paint to do the details, like, is that possible? You know, like, is that, because that was the whole thing with that, is people have done puff paint webs before of just the webbing, and that always breaks because it's it's these strands of webbing that have these pressure points, and even urethane webbings break always because there's just so much pressure at certain areas where the webbing is really getting a lot of pressure. But with this, the puff painting, you know, it's all over the suit, and it's just complete detail. So
smaller detail.
yeah, so it was just kind of like this, like, is this insane? Will this actually work? And so I did it on paper for that one, and then I think I probably posted that on the RPF as like my first thing, and then that got me into the mask, making the actual fabric.
That's
mask.
where I jumped in at the mask. I was like, bro, if you're selling that mask, I want that mask. I was like, my first message to you was like, how much? How much, man? Just like tell me.
You're the first of many Spider-Man fans that have.
I'm glad I jumped in
that,
when I did, because I didn't. I mean, I cut to the chase, bro. It's like, I'm not gonna waste your time. Tell me how much. Let me give you that money and give me that damn mask, dude, because it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's
so
definitely.
that's when we met up. Realized we were both in the same town. Met up in person, and I kind of convinced you to commit to the misery of painting creating the whole suit.
The same reason as I agreed to sell you that mask is I was like first year in LA, you know, no job yet, and you know I had for only a month. People kind of harp on this a little bit. They get stuck on it. But on a Hollywood Boulevard, you know, you can go out on the Hollywood Boulevard and dress up like a character and just accept tips. I did that for about a month when I first got out here, and I
remember
lived right out.
there was a YouTube video of you roller skating.
That's still up there, but it's not available in America.
Oh, really?
So it's out there. That video is still
not
out
available
there.
in America?
Yeah, it's not available. I can't watch it.
What?
In America.
It's your own video? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not in your area.
It's because I put a Jitterbug on it, the song. I think
man.
it doesn't have rights. But anyway, so I was out on the Hollywood Boulevard for a little while, and I did that, and that's there's a little documentary about it.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen it. Yeah.
What's it called? Not Hero or.
What is it
I can't
called?
remember what that documentary is called. It's basically just the documentary following some heroes on Hollywood Boulevard.
It's the one that has the Superman, the George Clooney Batman, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny, you know,
And
entertaining
Flash,
movie.
yeah.
And so when I was
It's
doing
kind of sad too. Like,
it's well. Let me tell you. When I got out here for the month, I met that Superman, and I knew him, Chris. Well, that was his Christopher Reeve, obviously his fake name, because he had like a previous identity he didn't really like divulge much about.
Oh, really?
And it's a pretty crazy guy because he had a really nice Superman Returns suit at that point when I met him. It was like dye sublimated, and he had a muscle suit and everything. So we just go out into the boulevard, and I had my Iron Man suit, and so he clinged right to me because when you're on the boulevard, if there are two superheroes, it's a lot more approachable and fun, and so the people make more money. And also he's the kind of guy too that would like get
he was kind of like the
give you
leader.
3. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, he's just that kind of guy.
So did you, from that point, continue to find yourself in a place where, when I bought that mask, we went with the whole suit as well. Did you at that point decide like, hey man, I'm gonna make this my
Well,
job?
I was kind of already at that point because right before I started doing your Spider-Man mask and costume, I had done Batman, Dark Knight.
I remember that. Yeah.
So it was just the
I
Dark
remember
Knight cowl.
you showing me the suit.
And I've got a video on my YouTube of me sculpting.
that
one.
time lapse. It's beautiful. Yeah.
So that was the first one because I needed to make that because I had a Batman suit that I had made a few years for the Dark Knight, but I didn't have a mask for it, so I just needed a mask really bad. So I made that, and that was kind of what got me into that because I made the mold for that, and I was like, well, I can just make Dark Knight masks and produce them. But that one was bad because there was already urethane, high quality, $350, you know, Dark Knight masks that you can get that are basically perfect or like actually from the production molds at this point.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of where my thinking diverted. It was like, okay, it's got to be something new, something where there isn't that thing above where people are like, I only want to pay $90 or else I'll just go to that other better one. And so it was just kind of like going in the other direction, and that Spider-Man thing, no one was doing. Well, the only thing for Amazing Spider-Man that I had seen before I started working on it was Brad McDowell, Spidey for Fun, had done, I think he was hired actually to do a dye sub suit for Amazing Spider-Man for like a convention or something.
Oh,
So
really?
that was one thing. And he adapted the Raimi pattern, I think, and made it pretty good for a first run before the movie had even come out. And it was like a
Oh
display.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it was kind of like,
yeah, it was like for a Comic-Con booth or something.
Yeah, so it was
I
like this
remember
like
that.
stuffed thing that was like hanging upside down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
and it was not, not totally accurate, but that's just because it was before the movie and it came out, and mine was the same way.
Yeah.
And so that kind of got me like, oh, well, that's the only other one that I see, and it doesn't have the texture or any of that. And that was before, God, puff painting and screen printing and all that really kind of just kind of washed over. But yeah, so I that was what got me into the Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah, and
That's
so
what
so
I
from
did.
from there you kind of like ran with it a bit, and we're like, I got some new stuff that I can come up with, offer the Spidey community, and like you just took the step into making costuming your like main job.
Yeah,
so
well-
you've been living the dream for way longer.
Sort of. Well,
because I remember when I met you.
I could get into that.
When I met you and I came over to your apartment and I saw like everything that you had, like the stuff that you were working on, the stuff that you were working with at the moment. So I was like, damn, dude, this is like a playground. It's so fun. This is like so cool. Like I can't do this because I have a wife who wouldn't let me have all this stuff in the apartment.
Maybe that's why I don't have a wife. But I could see it getting worse and worse if I just keep collecting stuff. But I could tell it wore at my roommates just because they, like I said, they have no control over it. And sometimes another thing that I have a big problem with is clutter blindness. Yeah. I heard of this from a stand-up comic recently, and it just clicked. Clutter blindness. When you just set something on a desk and it's gone. It's not. You don't even think about it. You don't even. It's no longer in your thought until your whole workshop is just filled with stuff, and then you just kind of stop and you're like, I can't work on anything. I can't do anything. So basically, my example is it's kind of like when you're clutter blind like that. It's like you're in a room that's just filling with water, and you can't tell until you've got like an inch of air.
Yeah,
You're like, okay, this isn't good.
That's
And
hilarious.
what we need to address
That's
it.
exactly what's happening to me. Can you show us around a little bit of your work area and everything, and like show us some of the stuff that you're working on?
Yeah.
Perfect, dude. Let's go. All right, you guys. So now we are at Mclean Krieger Industries, where all the magic happens. He's gonna show us around. Before we do that, I have something to show him. So it's something that I brought. He's familiar with most of it. It's his ASM1 pattern that we puff painted, and he's going to be sewing for Brandon. But okay, I do have something at the very top of this thing that I want to show Mcclain, but I can't really show it to you guys yet. So he's just going to take a look at it over there.
What is it gonna be?
Pulp Fiction style. Unfortunately, you guys will just have to guess what's in the briefcase.
Okay, what's it gonna be? Ooh, that's cool.
Isn't that crazy?
That's really cool.
I promise I'll show you guys eventually, but right now it's like top secret level stuff.
Oh yeah, that's really neat.
Well, yeah, because I don't know what this is.
Yeah,
I don't know what this
exactly.
is.
Exactly. Nobody has seen this yet.
Yeah,
that's
it
why
just
it's
looks
so
like a cool
special.
design.
And so let's move on to, I see your beautiful Saiyan over here. Super Saiyan,
Yeah.
original design. Tell me a little bit about this, or a lot.
So this is a bit off of beaten path for me. If you know me at all, I do Spider-Man stuff. Usually there's Spider-Man masks all over. There's Spider-Man right here that I vacuum form. That's what my vacuum forming table. But a few months ago, well, no, to be specific, 2 years ago, I decided to get into 3D printing, and I've learned a lot about 3D printing. Like this little model here is 3D printed, same as your little. There you go. This little model is 3D printed, and this armor is 3D printed by me. So I've gotten in a lot into 3D printing, and I took on this project because I want to do Iron Man suits and Master Chief and all those, because 3D printing makes it so fast and accessible. And so I thought this Saiyan, like Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z, if you're familiar with Dragon Ball Z.
I love Vegeta because he has a receding hairline like me. I mean, I love how realistic this is, because you were thinking of like how this would segment out for movement and everything, right? So,
Well, yeah, I mean, really, this
you can call this a costume, but I was really just designing armor in more ways, because I actually designed how these shoulder segments come together. They come together with like a teeth, and so these are all individual
there's like some real
segments.
engineering that's going into
Yeah,
these.
and every single one of these segments is different. It's not something where like each one of these segments is just cast 12 times. Each one of these is different, and then they're different on both sides too. And then, like you were saying with these ab sections, I don't have the back done yet. That's what still needs to get done.
I just wanted to get all the way with the
But I'm still gonna fill in back here with the back section. But getting back to what you were saying here, like, yeah, actually the way this is designed, it's all just taped together right now. So things are a little wonky, I'll say. Like, things are off a little bit, things aren't quite even. Hopefully once it's all put together, it's gonna be really nice and a lot more like this model where you can see everything just comes together flush and really nice. But the reason that it's all segmented is that it actually, this is just taped, so it's a little difficult, but you can see that it's actually able to compress like lobster armor there. So this Vegeta armor will actually be able to bend at the waist, which is, if you're a fighter, if you're fighting, you'd need flexibility. You wouldn't want something that totally restricts your movement. So the whole abdomen is going to be able, basically be free. It's going to be kind of like springy and able to move.
I love that.
And so that's going to be really a cool effect. And then doing that on top of with the fabric that you did, and then adding the gloves and boots and muscle suit, I think it should all be a pretty cool effect all in the end. I was trying to reprint the back armor here because my 3D printer had some problems, and you can see it a little bit with the light, that it's bumpy and there are kind of some splits and stuff. So
what kind of 3D printers are you working with right now?
Right now, I printed this on the Tronxy X5S, which is, we can go look at my 3D printers in a minute here. The Tronxy X5S is just a really large Core XY 3D printer, which means that the printer head moves around at the top in its X and Y direction, and the print bed just goes down. So the print itself doesn't have to move around and shake a lot, which is really an advantage. So I was having a problem though where I was still getting a lot of ripples, but I've recently fixed that, and this one failed because I ran out of filament, kind of stupidly. I just didn't have enough filament on the machine while I was printing it, but it's kind of starting to produce slightly better results. And this was a pretty high layer height, so it was a little sloppy.
How long does something like this take to print? Like just
like a full back piece like this will probably take about 14 hours, maybe a little bit more, because my Tronxy can really print large pieces fast, which is it can print armor, it can print helmets and chest pieces, and that's how I 3D printed this chest piece. I had to split it in half in order to get all of that on each side, but it was able to 3D print all of that, and with the detail, like the latch on it and stuff, it's just amazing what you can do with 3D printing.
I mean, there's a lot of little cool like little curves and just like details in the armor that it takes more than one quick look to capture, you know what I mean? Like that's what's so awesome about it.
Yeah, well, it's all practicality, it's all function, basically, which is the fun thing about design is it's just how, and basically everything in this design is the way it is because it needed to be that way. It had to be that way.
Absolutely. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for sharing the Super Saiyan project with us. I have one question from Jonathan East, who's the sponsor of today's episode. What is your most the project that you're the most proud of, the one creation you've made that you've been at the end of it like the most happy about, the most proud of?
Well, that's tough because it's like that's my favorite. One of my favorite parts about working on this stuff is that feeling of accomplishment once you've made stuff. Like making stuff with your hands. It's just such a Here's another thing. This is a little shark doll that I'm working on right now that I did a stream about a week ago where I started designing this, and I'm already printing it and getting it assembled and stuff. And it's just like the amazing feeling of like this didn't exist at all before you brought it into existence. But anyway, to answer your question specifically, you might remember a year ago I did an invisible or a glowing invisible mask, and I still have that upstairs, on my work, my workbench, needing to get worked on. And I think, kind of going to what you're talking about, it is kind of that project for me. Like, it is my big thing because it's unique. It's a novel way of doing it that I've never seen anyone else kind of even get close to replicating. Not like, there have been really cool ways people have done it, but no one's ever really done it the way I've done it. And I kind of have the insight on it. Like, I've kind of kept it secret. So it's part of why I'm not getting that project finished, is that it's like just this feeling of like, I got this amazing project. It's like having a lottery ticket and not cashing it, because you just like, it's nice knowing that it could win, and it's just kind of like, I'm just kind of sitting on it. But I know in my history, I know I'm just kind of sitting, and I'm like, eventually someone's going to do something similar, or like some other company or something's going to do some glowing mask or glowing suit, and I'm just going to be like, I guess I was too slow.
So I've seen what you're talking about. I'm going to do a little screen up here where I'm going to show a little bit of footage of what you posted for it, so people that are unfamiliar
that'd be cool.
know what you're talking about. But it's pretty impressive, dude. I mean, it's baffling. Like, you look at it, you don't know what you're looking at. It's like you just feel like it's something really cool. So I completely understand what you're saying.
Well, I've had the idea. I had the idea like 3 or 4 years ago, just a basic idea of like, well, what if someone just put a LED screen, a screen consisting of LEDs on a person's body, and you can do that. But those are expensive. LED screens are really expensive, and you can wire your own, but that's a lot of wiring and a lot of LEDs. And then you'd have to wire the matrix correctly so that, this is the top right, and then so this line of LEDs lines up with this line of LEDs on your body. The way I've done it, and I'm not going to get into it very much, but it kind of sidesteps all that, and it really kind of gets around that in a unique way. And so it was like 3 or 4 years ago that I had that idea with the LEDs. And it's just, since then, it's just been kind of percolating in my brain ever since, and kind of still is.
Dude, it sounds amazing, and please don't end up like Tesla with like all these ideas, and then you just like don't take them to the finish line, and then it's just like, what could have been?
It's funny that you mentioned Tesla, because it's kind of like, I kind of can empathize with Tesla, because it's just kind of this state of mind where it's like, I don't even care if these ideas happen. I just love to
think about them.
There's a mosquito living in here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just watched it land on your
elbow. Man. Oh.
I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes in here. Man, I've got some flying bugs problems in my place. Okay, cool. So we're looking at my printers.
Are we walking in one shot, or do I cut away?
That's fine. So
nice.
Out into my garage here.
And you got a big garage for these are condos.
Yeah, this that's why I'm here. This garage was
pretty good space.
Whole point of moving out here for me. So these are the printers that I use, that I started out with. This one's basically out of commission because its heat bed gave out, its heated bed. Although this one's heat bed just gave out recently too, and I've learned that they can print without a heated bed. Like, it can actually print on the bed, and sometimes there are problems because of that, but it can actually still work without that. But yeah, these are just Annette A8s that you can get from gearbest.com, and they were only like $150, which is great about them because they're cheap. It's just easy to like put them together and learn a lot about how 3D printers work. Now, my most recent one is this Tronxy X5S, and this thing is a beast because it can print
it's
13 by 13 by 15 inches area. And basically the head moves around back and forth through these series of pulleys and stuff, and then the bed moves up and down away from that, and so it prints as the bed goes down. It prints each layer, and I had to build this little reinforcement unit because the thing is very shaky because it's just a bunch of square
I was gonna
pipes.
ask about that. So you built that yourself to basically
Just solidify it because basically since this thing when it's printing will be going vim 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 vim, being at the top of this just really, it's not, there's no bracing or anything in this frame, so it would, before it would go and that translates into your print. It translates into a waviness and a bumpiness in your print.
Absolutely.
Then, I was also having a problem that I mentioned earlier with the back plate was wavy, was because the extruder head is bolted to the like mount really high up, and so it's able to like wiggle when it's bolted on, and so while it was printing it was able to wiggle so it would really give a wavy print. And so I had to cut like a metal piece that like clamps onto the extruder and holds it tight, and put that in there, and that recently got that going again.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I love how you solved that problem. Like a lot of us will just have a problem like that, and if it doesn't come in the box, it's like, well, shit, I guess I'm supposed to have that problem. But like, I love how you think, above and beyond on every project, dude. Like, you're a little mad scientist. I've always considered you a very, very talented mad scientist, man.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for sharing all of this, man, with us, because I feel like a lot of people get curious, and I think you told me once before, it's like, people think that it's like magic, but it's actually like, it's just hard work, it's hard work. It's putting in the work.
It's like real life magic, where it's like,
it's real life
to them
magic.
it's magic, but to the magician it's
a lot of hard work.
It's your art,
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, let's go look at that design on fabric.
Oh, can't wait. Cool. Fun fact, I randomly bought like one of those scratcher lottery tickets yesterday. It's weird because I was like,
Don't tell me you're a millionaire now.
no, I wouldn't tell you that. You wouldn't have heard from
invest in our shop.
so I just bought one of those scratch tickets. It was a $10 ticket, and I was just like, yeah, I kind of want one of those. This sounds fun. Kind of like a video games. You gamble on the lottery, but of course, in video games, you have a way more high chance of actually winning something. But anyway, so I actually wanted to get it, and I was like, I left the store, but then I came back, and I was like, okay, I'll get it. So I was scratching it as I was walking away from this convenience store, and I thought, I didn't get anything. But then I looked at it, it's like, I won $100.
You did?
Yeah, so I won $100 on this $10 scratch ticket.
That's funny, dude.
Because that's what the $10 ones, the $2, $5, you're not gonna really get anything on those. But in this one, I won $100, and so I went back to the convenience store, and they cashed it, and I bought another $30, another $20, and another $20.
Oh my God,
scratcher, and then I won another $100.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and so then I bought more scratch tickets and more. I bought Powerball tickets because there were the Powerball drawing that afternoon. I was like, well, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't with
I
the
mean,
Powerball.
you were already on some sort of a roll there too. So.
Yeah. Well, that's how they get you. Is they get you on a roll. They get you thinking you're on a roll. Like if I had won that 100 and just walked away, I would have come out more ahead. Because I ended up spending more. I won 200 total in the day, but I also spent about 100 on the tickets, winning the two 100s. And so, I spent the money back on there, and that's where gambling gets you. Is that it's like.
But when it was all said and done, you still came up.
Yep,
with a little bit of money.
I bought some snacks from the convenience store. I got like $40 out of it at the end, and then one of the other scratch tickets that I got as a free ticket, so I get to go back and get another free ticket.
Nice, dude.
You can't win if you don't play.
All right.
All
Rolling. So show us what we got here.
Okay, well, this is really exciting for me because this is the first time I've seen it too. I've only just recently been introduced, but we've talked about the armor a little bit, and that was kind of the main purpose of this project. But it needed a cool suit to go underneath it, and now there's another cool Saiyan suit out there too, and it has a screen printed suit. So I had to do something to kind of make it a little special, and that one just had the hexagon shaped pattern, and that one's a little basic. It's not as unique, and so I went ahead and designed this kind of technical, kind of like a carbon fiber, but with a little bit more detail.
I wish you could see how beautiful this looks on camera right now.
But carbon fiber detail and a more technical, and I actually got the idea for the texture from a towel. It had
From
a
a
strip.
towel?
Yeah, it had a strip of kind of the way this is doing brick, thin brick, brick, thin brick, brick, thin brick, and so it alternates like that. The towel just had like circles, so it had a big circle brick, little thin one, big circle thin one, and I just looked at it and I was like, that's a cool texture, and so I kind of just developed it into more of like a technical carbon fiber like pattern, and
Well, it looks beautiful.
yeah.
And we got Jose over here.
Hi.
We're gonna be doing a future video, guys.
I'm gonna announce it right now. It's gonna be all in Spanish, and we're gonna go get some Peruvian food or whatever place Jose likes, and we're gonna eat and talk a little bit more about Jose's artistic career and the stuff that he does. So stay tuned for that, completely in Español.
All right, so yeah, man, that's really, really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
All right, well, you guys, there it is. Here's the fabric. Stay tuned for Mcclain, his Saiyan.
It's like the Japanese Superman.
So stay tuned for that. That's going to be incredible. We're so happy we got to take part of it in putting the fabrics out, doing the screen printing for this character, and we're going to be looking forward to seeing the finished product. And stay tuned for an episode with Jose en Español coming up soon. And thank you guys so much. Bye.
See ya.